So if you could talk about the concept real quick, 'cause I think it's kind of interesting. As from a hacker's perspective, if I'm going to hack or try to get a hold of, for instance, my information versus you as a CEO, your information, right? Versus, I don't know, somebody higher up in a large business, like, I don't know, Michael Dell, right? Hundreds of employees, thousands of employees, right? Well, why would he hack me or you versus Michael Dell or large corporations? It doesn't make any sense of why they would attack us versus them.
Access. The simple one-word answer is access. You as a salesperson have limited access to our corporate resources, but you as a salesperson have limited access to some of our resources. And so by gaining access to you, they have an entry point. Now they want to develop that and kind of wiggle their way through the cracks and find more access. Privilege escalation is what it's called in the IT world. But basically, they want to start with the low-hanging fruit, whatever's the easiest way to get in, and then begin working their way up into the architecture or the hierarchy, as it might be called, to get access to not necessarily what I have, but maybe our system administrator, our finance team, right? If you're looking at Dell, why would they want to hack Michael Dell? Well, maybe they want to do some insider trading, right? Or maybe they're just going to avoid Michael Dell altogether, and they're going to look at how can we fake sell something to Dell and they'll buy it.
Yeah.
Right? How can we falsify a PO for $100,000 and then transfer the money and make it all look legitimate?
So basically, what you're saying is that it's easier to hack the small guys, and because it's easier to hack the small guys, those are the people that actually should be more cautious and they're more vulnerable, because at the end of the day, like my house, like, yeah, I've got a router, right? But I don't have the advanced technology that you guys have, like firewalls and implementation of policies, procedures, and security and endpoint detection. All this tech stuff is that you get all these small businesses that are really, really good at what they do. They're mechanic shops or construction shops. They're whatever they are, right? They're really, really good at their industry. But if they don't have IT, then they're actually more vulnerable than these other companies that are bigger, because I guess what, they're just easier to get into.
Well, the U.S. government has decided that they don't want to allow nearly as many people to work from home. It's not because it's not convenient. They can pay them less and they're happier. It's a lot to do with security.
Yeah.
If I can hack your home computer, then where's your work computer logging into when you're working remote, even as a government employee? The same wireless access point that everybody else is working off of. It's where is the easiest way to get entry into the network? Is it your personal computer? Is it your work computer? Is it while you're at Starbucks? Is it while you're at Dunkin' Donuts or Chick-fil-A? Where are you at where I can get some type of access to your system and then begin wiggling my way through those cracks?
Yeah.
So, yes. Are they going to go after me directly? Possibly. Is it going to be more beneficial for them to do that? Maybe. Some CEOs don't realize that the security is important, and so they require their IT team to circumvent it for them because it's easier for them and they don't have the time, right? Don't get me wrong, two-factor is one of the most annoying things in the world for most people when working with a computer. But I still use it because I know that if I don't, I put myself at risk, but beyond that, I put all our clients at risk.
Yeah.
And as an IT company, that's what we do. That's one of the biggest things that we do is risk management, right? So do we say, oh, well, Zach doesn't need two-factor. He's just a sales guy. No, Zach gets two-factor, right? And it's because it's that, what's our weakest link?
So I'm the weakest link.
Well, you could be.
Yeah.
I mean, reasonably speaking.
Yeah.
And so it depends on where your weakest link is. Oftentimes, you'd be surprised how many CEOs are their company's weakest link because they don't want to take the time to deal with the security.
Because they feel like, yep, this is my company. I don't need that extra two-factor. Like, it's me, right?
Right.
And they're doing stuff and they're busy. They don't have time to pull up their phone and do all the two-factor. Yeah, that does
Right.
make sense.
So, but another thing you look at is maybe it's one of your line workers, your frontline people, right? Again, it's just where can I get the easiest access to begin weaseling my way through cracks and exploiting things,
Yeah.
right? My goal as a hacker is to escalate my privilege to get to the next level. It's kind of like a video game.
Yeah.
You know, you go to Mario Brothers, and I guess I just dated myself a little bit there, but you go to Mario Brothers and you get through the first level, and the second, and the third, and the fourth, and then your princess is at another castle. Okay, well, on to zone two,
Keep moving. Yeah.
right? And we keep going through all the zones, and we keep finding out the princess is in another castle. But this is just us escalating our way through the zones or through the levels.
Yeah.
And we start out at level 1. Now, sometimes you get those warp portals and you can jump to level 4, right? And the hackers love that. But we're trying to get into the least privileged account and work our way up as undetected as possible. Now, we have in our anti-spam, anti-phishing software, we're able to sit there and say, hey, these are executives. Like, we need to really look into what's going on with these people.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a little bit more strict in how it looks at things for those people, but it's not that much more strict. It's just keeping a tighter watch. Right. But if we can, as hackers, get in through whoever, could be a small business, it could be a logistics hack where, hey, they're trying to get it into Billy Bob's Emporium. Solomon IT manages Billy Bob's Emporium, so maybe they try to hack Solomon IT in order to weasel their way through our systems and get access to Billy Bob's Emporium. Now, I tell you from my own knowledge of how we operate, that's not going to be the easiest way to get through. Low-level frontline employee would be a whole lot easier of a way
Yeah.
than going through us. We would pose a challenge. Now, maybe a hacker says, hey, I want that challenge, right? Or maybe the hacker goes, well, that challenge is worth it because they manage so many different clients. Maybe they look at it because we manage so many high-value clients. Whatever the reasoning is, they may go after us instead of going directly after Billy Bob.
So sometimes so what you're saying is sometimes you might not be the big dog. You might not be this big old client that somebody's after. But if you're somebody like, I don't know, healthcare or consulting or smaller practices and smaller businesses that have these either high value people or these high value businesses, that they might actually try to target like you said, the weakest link of the small business. That's like, oh yeah, who would hack me, right? Why would they come after me? Well, again, like you said, you're not the end goal, and you might not even know you got hacked because again, you're not the end goal. So they might be hacking a smaller business to get to the bigger business, and they would never know.
Yeah, supply chain hack. And you can see that with CPA firms. You can see that with manufacturing firms that manufacture something for one company to another. Let's say you work for a local company, Denso. They manufacture different motor parts. I think Ford is one of the vendors or one of the manufacturers that they work for. So they have access to Ford's networks, so they have to be more secure. Now, Ford has, I know for a fact, pushed down certain security requirements down to their manufacturers because they understand the concept of this supply chain hack.
Yeah.
And so they want their suppliers to be secure because that could be a entry point into Ford's network.
Because essentially, if we manage Denso and, or a CPA or somebody manages Denso and Denso works with Ford, then basically they could come through us or come through a CPA, try to hack into us, pretend to be somebody like you or me, get into Denso and get hacked into them ultimately to get to Ford. And you and I would never really know, and Ford or Denso would never really know. Because again, we're not their main target. They're not ransoming us, but we could have things on our systems that if we don't have the security, they're already in our systems trying to get up to Ford.
Yeah, and to kind of bring this full circle back to the original concept of the consumer, again, you have employees who work from home.
Yeah.
And maybe they use their home computer, which we don't recommend, but maybe they use their home computer. Well, if their home computer isn't secure, now the connections to whatever they go to are not secure.
So I take my work computer home and I go on to a website, I don't know, whatever it is, to go purchase something for my wife, which is not a legitimate website. And if we didn't have the security that we have, but I go home and I go to try to purchase something and I don't know that I have something on my system. Well, then I come into work on my work computer, connect to our work network. So what you're saying is that the people who don't have security, that's exactly how it's almost like a disease. It just passes on because you've given somebody the key.
Yes, and let me tell you one of the methodologies of how that works. Okay, you click on a nefarious link. It installs a drive-by modification to your web browser somehow. That web extension then enables a keylogger, okay, and puts on there what's called a RAT, a remote access Trojan. Okay, now I think we're all familiar with the Trojan horse and how that works, and a lot of people have probably heard of what a Trojan virus is. A remote access Trojan, it's essentially a similar concept. It's the horse in there, but now you have remote access to everything that horse has access to without having to put people inside the horse. Right? And so now we have a keylogger that logs your password when you type it in. But not just that, I have remote access to your system. Now I'm going to go to the website cookies, and I'm going to look for the cookie that has your two-factor. I'm going to pull that cookie off. I'm going to put it on my computer. Now I have your username, your password, and I have your two-factor already approved. I put them in my web browser. I don't have to do anything except for your username and password because I'm already authenticated with your two-factor because of that cookie. Now I can go order whatever I want from whatever websites I've got with that, and Bob's your uncle.
So you're saying that if I'm a company and I have two-factor and everybody's preached that two-factor is it's the way to be secure, it's the way to tell it's you, two-factor isn't just enough.
No, and I kind of opened myself up for that question.
Yeah. It's like I mean, that's basically what you're saying is like if we have two-factor on our systems and our phones and stuff, that cool, but two-factor can be stolen.
It can be stolen. It can be circumvented, and that's the caveat to it. Again, you want to have the right securities on your computer, whether it be your personal computer or whether it be a corporate computer. You want to make sure that you've got endpoint detection response at the very minimum on your computer, not the traditional antivirus, which most antivirus companies aren't selling traditional antivirus. But if you go for the cheapest, least expensive thing, you might be looking at traditional antivirus. And we're not going to go into that on this. I'm not going to expound on that. But effectively, it is tombstoned. It's dead.
Yeah.
Traditional antivirus is worthless. Endpoint detection response goes deeper and is actively watching what's going on. And that's the point of endpoint detection response. Will it catch everything? No. Target attack is going to be able to figure out how to disable it, how to circumvent it, but it takes a lot more time to do that.
So as an average consumer, how can I have a laptop at home, right? And I try to be cautious about what I click on, where I go, right? Look out for weird links or, you search something and it says, sponsored and sometimes you're like, maybe that's not the right one. But what is something that I can have, either a antivirus, a spam filter, something? What is something that you would recommend to, put on my system if I just, make a mistake?
So I'm not going to tell you what not to use, but I'll give you some applications or antivirus softwares that I would say are reasonably talented at being effective.
Yeah.
Again, for legal reasons, I don't want to say that these are the only ones. They are not. There's lots of them out there.
Yeah.
But some of the ones that I've
just
seen.
like some examples of.
Panda has some decent software that does a good job for residential. WebRoot, Viper. Sophos isn't bad for residential.
Okay.
And again, there's lots of them out there. Those are just a few off the top of my head that I've either run into and have had some experience with, or I've actually used or seen in use before, and they've done a reasonably decent job. But again, those aren't the only ones. There's lots of them out there. Just because it's a major brand does not mean that it's the best one out there. It might be very secure, but it may also have some other nuances. And to elaborate on that just briefly, we choose the endpoint detection response software that we use based on how well it performs in being secure, but also how much in the way of resources it takes up. Because for our clients, we don't want a 1-year-old computer to be acting like a 3-year-old computer, all because of the antivirus.
Yeah.
Right. So antivirus is an important thing to have on your computer. But the other thing is check the web extensions you've got on Firefox and Google and Edge and Safari and make sure that they're legit. And just because 1,000 people said, oh, yeah, I use this, or thumbs up, doesn't mean it's legit. Do a little bit of research on it and see if there's anything that's out there. If it has some goofy name on there, I would question that a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
So really quick, because you kind of touched on that, and I feel like this is something that somebody could be listening and go, yeah, let me do that real quick. Right? So to check your extensions on your computer, how do you get there? What do you do?
So everybody's a little bit different, but usually there's like 3 dots in the top right-hand corner. You'll click on that, and you'll find extensions. That's what I'm looking at right now inside of Edge. Same thing. Firefox has 3 little dashes. Google's got something up there. Safari's got something somewhere.
Okay.
But you're looking for extensions or add-ins, add-ons, something to that effect, depending on what they label it in the
in the browser, yeah.
Right, whatever browser it is. And then you go in there and find anything that you didn't intend to install, number one. But number two, look at them and see, do they have some funny name to them that just seems a little bit fishy. I mean, if it's like Wildcats ZZY Top LLCXP,
Yeah.
I would question that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it sounds to something like that sounds like somebody from a foreign country who doesn't really speak English, and they threw together a name and just happen to put some music artist in the middle of it. Did they make it sound English? Yes, kind of, but
Yeah.
they're not super familiar with it. Does that mean it's nefarious? No, but it's an indicator that elevates my senses and says, hey, this is a little bit of a red flag. I don't think I want this one. I'll find a different one.